Yeah, so I'll take over from here. So we will basically present our joint attempts to host this design research conference exhibitions, where you kind of highlight, where you really try to highlight the design experiments that are part of the research. And those kind of material experiments, they are quite often kind of hidden away in many of the kind of conferences we come to. So even if they are very important parts, so this is what we really focused upon within this kind of exhibition. Yeah, maybe. Sorry guys, I'm doing a bit of screen reading here, so I'll hide in the corner. So the exhibition was part of the 5th NODEM conference, and it's one of the most important kind of design research conferences in the Nordic countries. And what was quite specific about the 2013 exhibition was that it was the biggest exhibition we've ever tried to put up. So the kind of questions we wanted to explore, which we want to discuss here, is like, what characterizes a design research exhibition compared to traditional design and art exhibitions? And how do you show the very materialities of design experiments as a means for communicating knowledge of research and of practice? And how do you present, review and utilize such an exhibition? And in relation to that, our aim for the NODEM design exhibition was in concurrence with a kind of overarching theme of experiments. But well, we're also looking at kind of experiments as a kind of critique or of political and ethical values, more kind of into critical design. So ultimately, the kind of aim of the design research exhibition was twofold. So to present the very materialities of such design experiments and to explore how the outcome can work as tools to express and communicate research inquiries. And to kind of better understand the role of design research exhibitions, we kind of looked at how Anthony Dunn and Fiona Raby, the kind of initiators of the term critical design, see exhibitions as very important parts of kind of materialized design ideas that distribute well-crafted questions. So this is obviously quite similar to how we kind of propose questions in research. Secondly, we also looked at how Christina Zetterlund describes not research exhibitions, but design and craft exhibitions, and how they kind of are understood to for the outside kind of design communities. And following her, the problem with many of museums is they kind of emphasize a certain definition of the craft and design object, and particularly that which in the history of design as kind of visual objects that support capitalism. So if we kind of listen to her, she is really calling for a kind of alternative for exhibition formats. And finally, we've added a part of this, where we kind of, in relation, it should kind of be emphasized that artifacts in research exhibitions are exhibited in theoretical frameworks rather than a kind of a standalone artworks. So they're kind of the 3 legs there. So, in relation to kind of Zetterlund's comments, we do believe that design research exhibitions have the potential to contribute to such an alternative. But on the other side, our challenge isn't really that design research is really caught up in those kind of aesthetic or capitalistic issues. So rather, our challenge within design research context are how to get beyond kind of verbal ways of staging design research inquiries. And I mean, of course, academic texts, they are also material, but they kind of constitute a main part of the design conferences already. So our intention was obviously then to introduce the more kind of 3-dimensional and non-verbal materialities. And I mean, everything which is kind of more close at hand in design practice. So from wood to ceramics to bits of code and film snippets, etc. And for example, when we tried to actually retrieve information about the previous Nordic exhibitions, all papers, could easily be accessed, but it was really difficult to get any information upon the kind of different exhibition items and how they were kind of presented or executed during the conferences. And I think in relation, this kind of also points to, to the power of text in contributing to research. It can easily be saved, it can be documented, it can be shared, etc. And, we can kind of imagine how academic systems such as referencing has kind of evolved over time and changed and sometimes not worked, I'm sure. But I mean, in relation, artifacts and materials and experiments, obviously so much harder to present and document if they are to contribute to any kind of knowledge. So obviously leading us to a question of how we document and share those kind of knowledges so we can build upon them. And then I think I will actually hand over to Petra now, where
My task in this project was to actually do the design for the architectural design for the exhibition and kind of heavy lifting, putting the things in the places. And we had 27 wonderful pieces or things from around the world to exhibit, and we had 3 days time to have the exhibition, but we only had 1 day time to build it because people sent those things, or they brought them with them when they came to the conference, and we got everything latest on that Sunday morning when we had the opening on the evening. But we had this excellent, beautiful exhibition hall at Holmen in Copenhagen. And that was actually also the heart of the whole conference. So all the people who were coming to the conference kind of had to walk through this exhibition during those 3 days and were involved already before our special session and our special session. So it was kind of the heart of the conference also. What we provided for exhibitors was this kind of plywood stands. They were either horizontal or vertical. It was 2 times 2 meters stand, and that was it. We also gave the IT help, but they had to design their pieces on those. And then we wanted to engage them to create discussions and dialogue between the exhibitors and the visitors. And we used a probes tool to do this. And it was also at the same time like how we called it, it was explorer's kit, what we made. And of course, if you want to explore something, there has to be a map. And we made a map of this exhibition. And that map was based on the floor plan, which was based on the chair, how the chairs had clustered all these pieces which were exhibited during the peer review process. And that was also used to create these dialogues between the works. So similar works were always next to each other's. And in this explorer's kit, there was also 2 coffee cups. So 2 persons would drink their coffees together, have their cake together, and walk through the exhibition. And there was also inquiry notes, these, which look like Post-its, but they were inquiry notes. And we encouraged people to write their comments and questions on those notes and leave them on the works. And also, all these 27 exhibitors were in this session at the same time, and they were making questions to their fellow exhibitors, or they were standing by their own works and discussing through these notes.
And then, so we trying to really kind of build on this kind of, this the space and the kind of text. So, for example, in the design research landscape, those kind of heights and slopes in the landscapes, they were kind of pulled out from the different papers. So they would kind of make sense to where the actually exhibition pieces were. So in that sense, that was a kind of exchange between the kind of exhibition hall and the pieces, exhibition pieces, and the kind of the more kind of text-based part.
And also we had 200 people coming to this session, and with this 27 exhibitors. So it was a lot of people in one session. Thank you. And this is one example from one of the exhibitors, Priska, who is doing her PhD on, she's exploring the new artistic potentials from ceramic materials and sound. And she's in kind of first stage on her PhD, and she wanted to show this to people in order to get some comments and feedback on what the others would think. And what she got was really good questions and comments, and positive and also kind of questioning comments that where she is. And these are the actual comments what was at her work there. So yeah, some of them. Like, I cannot resist touching them, and these are ceramic pieces, and then the sound is coming under the table, and you can listen it there. Could we interact by playing your artwork ourselves? Was one of the comments.
Yeah. So in this way, it kind of you kind of got the inquiry notes that started to generate their own discussions between the kind of participants and the exhibitors, etc. And then in the end of the day, they could kind of bring the inquiry notes, for example, with them home and utilize them, if kind of up to yourself if you got good comments or not, I assume. But with that, we're going to round up now, Petra. So to round off, in trying to position the role of exhibitions compared to the traditional design and art exhibitions, we actually want to come back and argue that the very characteristics of a design research exhibition actually lies in this synthesis between the text and the design experiment. And in concurrence with this, the current curatorial design research challenge is firstly to consider how this synthesizing characteristics can be utilized. And then secondly, to consider ways that allows exhibitions with all the kind of materialities to become serious and important components of the more text-based academic kind of procedures of a design conference. So in regards to how to produce exchanges, for example, we really try to encourage the exhibitors to show process and experimentation as a central role of their exhibition, in kind of with a written paper, of course, and obviously also through further kind of micro explorations, such as as the example of the NODEM design research kit. And I think in regards in how to allow materialities to become more important components in design conferences, one thing we argue is that we actually need to kind of review the reviewing, because reviewing something for design research follows a research tradition that is geared towards assessing papers. And this became very visible during the NODEM conference, where the people who had a kind of 2-page paper and only exhibited, they would get quite good and interesting comments back, but the people who actually had a full paper or exploratory paper and the exhibition item, it was quite often the reviewers would not even comment upon the exhibition items. And I think a further kind of possibility might be to kind of expand and the exhibition area as a kind of to see it as a more dynamic and flexible environment for paper presentations in relation to the kind of exhibited artifacts. And with that, if we kind of finally kind of point to futures, we'd also say, with regards to the reviewing, there's definitely room for improvement. And to consider better ways to review exhibition items. At the same time, using the more traditional format for accepting conference contributions for design research exhibitions, they kind of also have a kind of opportunity, we want to argue. And that is the fact that is actually that we do not have one curator, but instead the decision has kind of been spread out over many people, or reviewers in this case, means that the curation has been kind of decentralized. And this is quite an interesting role for kind of future ways of thinking of curatorship. And then I think finally, when considering our task as co-chairs and authors, our closing contributions has been to kind of document the NODES 2013 exhibition. And, this very presentation and the paper is one way to document and share our experience. So kind of others hopefully can build upon that knowledge. And in that way, we could also say that it's a bit of an experiment for us as well to kind of try to document and share this kind of design research exhibition. So with that, thanks for listening to us.